Valerie, and I'm here today to discuss what makes me unique by examining my decision to go back to school, change my career, and pursue a profession in the mental health industry. For my audience, I have Valerie, Miranda, Michael, Kevin, Kathy, and the cameraman is Craig. Craig, say
hello.
So, have you ever ran into somebody you haven't seen in a while and they remember specific details about your life that you didn't think that they would remember? The human mind is one of the most complex and intricate organisms in the universe, and we can't possibly begin to think that we've scratched the surface of it. I chose to go into the hospitality industry originally because I love people, I love being around people, and I love working with people. When I turned 30, I began to feel this magnetism that developed that pulled me into going back to school and pursuing a career in psychology. I actually was having dreams about it several times a month, and it was kind of hauntingly scary. First, I'd like to speak to you about why I made this decision and why the mental health industry is in desperate need of future employees. As the emotional IQ of America increases, so does the demand that specialize in this field and the demand for people that specialize in this field and its subfields that are still developing every day. We've become a giant melting pot of different cultures, ideas, passions, and experiences. Awareness has grown astronomically to acknowledge different genders, sexual, and mental orientation. Acceptance has also risen to seek therapy as a pillar of treatment. It's not necessarily viewed any longer like it might have been 10 or 20 years ago by Tony Soprano. I'm going to see my shrink, and it's a big shame and it's a big secret. So now that we've talked about my main point, I'd like to move on to my second, which is why I feel I'm especially qualified to study this field. Working in the hospitality industry for the last 20 years has given me the opportunity to observe, train, and lead hundreds of amazing individuals. Hundreds, literally.
That's true. Very good.
I feel like I've been the student more than the teacher. For the last 12 of those years, I've been in management, which is I consider coaching and development, not like the boss. I feel is more a colleague and a student. Management training has taught me that good leaders illuminate the way for their employees, which in order to do, you must have a versatile understanding of how to communicate with a lot of different types of people. For me, the 80-20 rule is something I live by, is 80% of the job is how people feel when they're there and how happy they are, and 20% is the actual skill set involved. We spend more time at work than we do with our own families, so it's important to feel great when we're at work. My HR manager used to say, Sarah Geringer, Sherry missed a career in psychology or human resources. I should have taken that as a sign. I view management as a parallel to understanding therapy, as I'm not only helping set goals and achieve upwards career movement, but also to help people feel inspired, engaged, and connected while they're at work. I feel very passionate about growing into a psychology career because of my experience handling a multitude of service recovery situations with irate and upset guests.
That's true.
When someone is emotionally charged and feels they've been slighted, it takes someone with a lot of patience to understand the intricacy involved with where the other individual is coming from and what their ultimate goal is, what the solution to everything's different. It's a case-by-case basis. There's no set rules, same as therapy. I'm an avid problem solver. I like challenges. As soon as the guest or employee has an issue, my mind is immediately fixated on organizing potential solutions to help. So as a therapist, I feel as though these skills will be imperative. They make me unique, as I will have to develop treatment plans objectively and understand the other individual what would help them. So I'm passionate about helping people ultimately and making my mark in the world. I have a relatable past. I've struggled for a long time with anxiety and obesity. I've learned to overcome and develop coping skills that don't rely solely on food, alcohol, or mentally obsessing over something. If I enjoy a margarita, I want it to be when I have a clear mind. When people see you've been through your own trials and tribulations, it leads to credibility, which leads to trust. With credibility and relatability, I have been able to build lasting relationships with my team members, colleagues, friends, and family. In closing, I've discussed three main points today about what makes me feel drawn and qualified to one day become a great psychologist. I talked about the emotional IQ of America rising. Organizations are instituting on-site psychologists in addition to HR managers. The sensitivity sensitivity levels are increasing with people becoming more aware of bullying, things of that nature, more of a diverse population. The skills that I've developed as a restaurant manager are parallel to what would make me successful as a therapist, and my personal experience speaks volumes about my interest in relating to people. I've struggled with quite a few things that have given me experience, credibility, and relatability, and to me there's no better feeling than listening to a person talk about something that's really bothering them. People are surprised when you follow up days or weeks later about something they asked you about. They don't think that you were listening. And this practice builds trust and will drive someone to not necessarily listen to me or take my advice, but maybe to see their situation from the outside looking in, which is ultimately what therapy is. To essentially get the juices flowing, there's no better feeling than when somebody says, thank you for your help, or why didn't I think of that? So, famous psychologist Abraham Maslow once said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. Well, I feel as though what makes me the most unique is I have not only a hammer, but heart-shaped tools in my toolbox because I love people. So thank you for your time today.